hobbyists.
Warner Holidays sponsored by Viagra.
Merlot.
To help make these videos interesting, well, watchable-ish, when out driving the radio controlled cars, it's nice to go to a location with a bit of something to it, and usually this helps give the video a theme, as well as showing us how different cars can handle different conditions. So this video is RC so-and-so's chief engineer and myself looking for a location in North Wales. One very grey, miserable, cold and grim morning, which is typical for North Wales, we loaded up the Caniero with a cast of characters including the Tamiya Lunchbox, Tamiya Bigfoot, Tamiya Plasma Edge 2, Tamiya Terra Scorcher and the Tamiya Fighter RX Buggy, and headed out with no real plan but to see what we can find and see if there's any hidden gems for your visual pleasure. After visiting some clown's place for coffee, we headed into the void. We have utilised a few of the beaches of the North Wales Riviera and some of its mountains, or to be technical, a big hill. Ideally, we are looking for something different for today's adventure. A lot of the beauty and the splendour of North Wales is not really suited for driving radio control cars. It's either inaccessible due to it being vertical or very uneven or possibly even underwater, or it's inaccessible because it's off limits, like Electric Mountain's network of tunnels, which you can only film in if you know James Bond or have a Blue Peter badge, or Port Merion with its quirky charm. But sadly, the management is even more oppressive than in Patrick McGowan's day, so filming on location would be somewhat of a challenge. In our youths, we used to go for adventures all the time, like when we went to Glastonbury one year, intending to jump the fence, but it was raining, so we decided against it. Or when we went to Abersock for Wakestock, but arrived a week too early. Either way, it gives you time to discuss plans and chat about various subjects with minimal interruptions.
I got our tiles at half the price of tops of the same tile.
Yeah.
At Wicks. Half the price. They wanted £45 a square metre. I got them for 20.
North Wales has a network of small roads with a strange logic, as there's not any motorways and it's not easy to go from north to south without zigzagging your way down from east to west. There's always plenty to see, possibly not when the weather is this grim, but with winter swiftly approaching, it's the best we have. Wales is a proud country, as it takes balls to pop a bloomin' big dragon on your flag. And they have one of these festivals called an Eisteddfod, which is basically a Welsh festival for Welsh speakers that live in Wales, open to Welsh schools to see who is the Welshest, and then they win a Welsh prize. You would think that with all the myths and legends, North Wales would have plenty of places to make fascinating backdrops to RC videos. But when most of the legends are wrongfully killing a beloved family pet or hiding up a mountain and starving to death, it doesn't really scream Tamiya radio control to me. It's said that King Arthur is draped in Welsh lore, but everybody knows Camelot is near Chorley, just off the M6. When we are looking at websites or more old school catalogues at the Tamiya range, we naturally think about running these cars outside, the exception being if you are buying them to be a shelf queen, but I would imagine that that would soon end in divorce. No matter the size of gardens or outside spaces that you have, you think about taking them out somewhere else so you can give them a really good welly, see how fast they can go and how they are on the different surfaces. So this would lead to a question: what does a good location look like? I only wish I knew.
My mum used to come on this, drink it.
The perfect location for me has one key element, which is somewhere that we will not be pestered by some interfering member of the public or a jumped up job's worth, as many people feel it's their right to tell you that driving battery powered Tamiya cars is antisocial, usually while their dog is leaving a whoopsie all over the place or their child is busy kicking the hell out of a fence. We're not bothering you, so don't start bothering us.
Weddings, exhibitions, etc.
Does it say anything about RC? A solution to this might be to join a club, although, as Groucho Marx said, I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. An issue with clubs is finding them. A search online does not show any locally, and the only mentions of them are 5 years out of date. A problem with clubs is cliques and rules, as what one person's idea of fun is not necessarily someone else's, and it could become petty pretty quickly. And I think this is really the reason why they've probably become a thing of the past. Why not start your own club, I hear you ask? No, I say. The reason being, I want to enjoy my hobby, and not really be bogged down in admin or with petty squabbles. Also, clubs can be boring. I accidentally once went to a cine film club night where members showed the films that they have made. This basically was 45 minutes of some old dear showing a video from 1976 filmed in Switzerland, and a good 33 minutes of the film was watching a Swiss squirrel hiding his nuts while someone passed round a biscuit tin full of soggy Garibaldis. Realistically, it's too close to the water's edge for me, yeah. The thought of finding an RC track has also crossed my mind. Again, I can't seem to find any locally. Looking at them, they are more intended for indoor drift chassis builds, or the outdoor ones do not really seem appealing to the Tamiya driver and are more geared towards Traxxas or the Armour Tough crowd. So sadly, this will also not really float, and hence why we have to do our own scouting missions. It has become painfully evident that this is not as easy as first imagined. It might be through rose-tinted spectacles of youth, but I'm sure it was easier to find suitable places to go. I think since the 80s, prices of land boomed, and housing companies will build entire estates on an area no bigger than a landfill site, and usually on top of one. Good areas are scarce. Even after they have built some of these uninspiring buildings, usually a box with a couple of columns on it to feign architecture, that sits empty, usually with a good flat car park, but it's gated, or it's got massive blocks placed at the entrance, mainly to stop it from being used as part of a successful scrap metal business. The other side of the coin is that if the places are being used, the car parks are in use, so that's not very practical. In yesteryear, before Sunday trading hours, you might have been able to use these places, back when things were only open 6 days a week, apart from things like petrol stations and garden centres, and they were a lot different than they are now. Back then they were barren places, with only a few conifers in plastic pots, with a rickety old shed at the epicentre. These days they are just emporiums of tat, coaxing busloads of pensioners there to visit overly expensive cafes for bought-in sausage rolls and machine-made Victoria sponges. They fill the place with all kinds of high-margin rubbish, like furniture bolted together by the trolley lad, and because it's got some House of Asher cushions on it, they can covet a £300 price tag, where in reality you could order it for £12.73 off Wish. They also seem to stock a wide range of wind chimes, from the twinkly Star Trek teleportation style to the full-on wooden kind, last seen in The Mission with Daniel Day-Lewis. Getting back to the point, if ever there was one, I would say if you have somewhere that you can drive your RC cars, then that's perfect, even if it's your own garden, then that way it'll be easy to find. Top tip, be careful of any plants in the borders, as trust me, this will get you shouted at if any damage occurs. If you have any car parks or shared areas, then you can use these, and this will give you what you need. And when purchasing the car, think about this. Have a think about what best suits the car and how to set up the car with your surroundings. If you intend on using public spaces, please be courteous to other people, even if they're not showing the same back to you. It's easier to wait with the car until the Legion of Gloom has moved on. If you are to use private property, please try to see if you can get permission first, as this will save a lot of heartache, and promise me that you just won't trash the area. We searched from the Coast Road to the Old Mould Road, Abercan to the Tweed Mill. A lot of the villages we passed through must have been named by hurling a load of Scrabble tiles at a wall to see what sticks, and this particular set had an excess of the letter L. All seemed bleak, and that was not just due to the weather, and really, realisation started to sink in that maybe we needed to try and turn around and retrace our route so we can back to where we started. Sometimes it pays to have feelers out there, so maybe a recommendation could save the day, as when you are sweeping an area, you may miss something. On this occasion, we received a hot tip and headed there immediately. What was waiting for us, you may ask? Well, only an abandoned haunted mansion. I know there is a distinct lack of driving radio control cars in this video, but if you make sure that you subscribe so you can see the cars in action in a future video, and also to see if Tim Curry is the butler here. Please remember to like, feel free to comment, definitely subscribe, and hit that bell-shaped thingy to be woken up at all hours. Anyway, for now, that's your lot.